Welcome to this special edition of News9, where we are in fact talking about the kind of tragedy that is happening in the mountainous states of Himachal Pradesh as well as Uttarakhand, and at the same time what is happening lower down, that is in Punjab. Now, days of torrential downpours have washed away vehicles, buildings and bridges in the mountainous states of Uttarakhand and Himachal. Adding to the woes of flash floods in Himachal Pradesh are landslides in Shimla.
बाबा इसके अंदर लोग तो नहीं पाए
नहीं खाली कर देते
ओ बाबा बिल्डिंग के अंदर लोग हैं इसमें नीचे आ रहा है वो देखो खाली हो गया बस सारा
This landslide that happened in Himachal Pradesh, already it is being said that 3 bodies have recovered from the area. There is a rescue operation that is being carried out with the NDRF as well as other department personnel also at the area where the landslide has occurred. It happened at a mountainous area where there were several hutments as well as building structures for residential reasons that have been built at the side of this place, and that is when you see the landslide taking place, and it was captured live on a camera nearby, and many of them in fact watching with aghast as to how this structure immediately collapses after the soil weakens underneath it, and this is because of the heavy rains that have been battering the hilly states of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, and this happened in Shimla in Himachal Pradesh. Rescue operations are still on. Cadaver dogs have been pushed into service, and also reports are coming in that excavators have been also pressed into action to determine as to whether they can reach out to any survivors who could be hidden in the debris of this landslide. These are the shocking visuals coming in from Shimla in Himachal Pradesh. Well, it's not only in Shimla, it is also being said that 59 people are believed to have died because of the flash floods and landslides that have occurred in Himachal Pradesh on the whole. 5 people were buried when a landslide hit a resort in Rishikesh, that is in Uttarakhand, and several riverside towns and villages, both in Himachal and Uttarakhand, were at the risk of flash floods from heavy rains that have been forecast in the region. These are in fact visuals coming in from that area where the landslides have taken place. You can see the SDRF, the NDRF as well as the army personnel who've been pressed into rescue. The landslides have resulted in several buildings that were below the hilly areas also being covered by soil and loosened up vegetation. These visuals in fact show the kind of struggle the SDRF personnel have to in fact undergo when the situation had emerged over here. We can see they had to dig across several of these areas, and you can see how the situation is unfolding in those regions. And immediately one of the things that have come to light as a challenge had been to cut through the thick vegetation as well as the rubble. Steel had to be in fact cut with gas lighters, and at the same time they had to remove the soil that had engulfed some of the buildings down the hill as well. So these visuals in fact show the kind of the tough task that is there in front of the rescue personnel when they try to reach out to anyone who could be buried in that landslide. So as we in fact speak, we see the kind of destruction that is unfolding in Shimla, that horrific landslide coming to light, and as you can see, cadaver dogs have also been pressed into action, and some of them, the sniffer dogs, have also been pressed into action to ensure whether they can trace out any survivors in that area. All of the departments are cooperating to ensure that some kind of a rescue can be carried out if there are people trapped under debris. Reports coming in saying that at least 3 people have been killed. They have been able to recover 3 bodies from it. You can see excavators also being brought in to help in the rescue efforts, because it is quite a dense situation that they in fact face. It is being said that the vegetation coupled with the soil and the debris of the buildings that existed in the upper reaches of the hill have only contributed in making it a difficult situation for the rescue officials as well. But all of them pressed into action. Many of the neighbors were aghast to see how the collapse took place, the landslide took place, and Himachal has been battered by rains in the last 3 to 4 days. There have been these are the visuals coming in where people have lost family and friends in this, many of them showing the pictures of the people who have been killed in the landslides. Some of them in fact being washed away as well, children as well as others who have not been reporting to their families. Well, they are worried about the elderly people in fact showing as to their children or the family members who could be stuck under the debris or have been washed away in the rains. These are some of those heartbreaking visuals coming in from Himachal Pradesh, and some of them in fact reaching out to authorities to find out whether they would be able to get through them as well. Well, so let's take a look at this complete collapse that happened in Shimla and the shocking nature of this collapse. Well, right now, let us listen into some of the reactions coming in from the family members on this.
ओ पापा बिल्डिंग के अंदर लोग हैं, इसमें नीचे आ रहा है वो देखो खाली हो गया वो सारा।
सर अभी आप मैं आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बता के थी कि 4 मिली थी हमारे को, अब 1 और मिली है हमारे को, 5 हो गई है।
किस तरह से आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए, क्या स्थिति है
इसकी? तो स्थिति जैसे इसका तो फेस भी दिख रहा था, वो भी क्लियर था, फेस भी क्लियर दिख ही रहा था वैसे तो चलो, फिर भी फेस 3 दिन से तो ऐसा हो जाता है कि थोड़ा नहीं पता चल रहा था। पर हमारे एक कल्चर है उन्होंने ये सिंगी डालती है, इसके गले में चैन और सिंगी थी, वो सिंगी उसने गले में डाली थी, मैंने उससे आइडेंटिफाई किया। बाकी उसके कपड़े से भी किया, ग्रीन कलर का सूट उसके पास था और मैं तो मैक्सिमम उनके साथ ही रह रही हूँ पिछले 15 साल से, तो मेरे को पता था कि उसके पास ये सूट है।
We have also reactions coming in from the Chief Minister as well as the rescue personnel from the area. Let's listen in. Well, let's listen into some of the reactions coming in from the authorities in the area where the collapse had taken place, and also regarding the flood situation as well as the difficulties being faced by the authorities while tackling the flood situation as well as landslide situation in Himachal.
और कांगड़ा में पोंग डैम से जो पानी छोड़ा है उसमें कल शाम तक हमने 650 लोगों को इवैक्यूएट कर लिया था। अब ये देख रहे हैं कि अब कितने लोगों को और रेस्क्यू करना है। कल रात से हमारे वहाँ लोकल लोग भी थे, डीसी भी था, सब लोग थे। तो अभी मैं कांगड़ा में जाने के बाद कांगड़ा के इंदौर और वहाँ जाने के बाद फिर आगे जाऊंगा।
कितने लोग फंसे हैं सर?
अभी कोई 100 के करीब लोग फंसे हैं जो सुरक्षित है, उनको निकालने का काम। शिमला के शिप बॉडी में अभी काम चल रहा है। आज सुबह भी एक शव और मिला है। जितने जल्दी हमारी धूप निकलेगी तो हमारा काम स्पीड अप होगा। कल रात को भी स्लैश थे उसमें, तो अभी सारी चीजों को देखते हुए यही कह सकता हूँ कि नुकसान का आंकड़ा 10,000 करोड़ के करीब है।
सर अभी मैं आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बता के थी कि 4 मिली थी हमारे को, अब 1 और मिली है हमारे को, 5 हो गई है।
किस तरह से आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए, क्या स्थिति है
इसकी तो स्थिति जैसे इसका तो फेस भी दिख रहा था, वो भी क्लियर था, फेस भी क्लियर दिख ही रहा था वैसे, तो चलो फिर भी फेस 3 दिन से तो ऐसा हो जाता है कि थोड़ा नहीं पता चल रहा था। पर हमारे एक कल्चर है उन्ना में ये सिंगी डालती है, इसके गले में चैन और सिंगी थी, वो सिंगी उसने गले में डाली थी, मैंने उससे आइडेंटिफाई किया। बाकी उसके कपड़े से भी किया, ग्रीन कलर का सूट उसके पास था, और मैं तो मैक्सिमम उनके साथ ही रह रही हूँ पिछले 15 साल से, तो मेरे को पता था कि उसके पास ये सूट है।
एनडीआरएफ के अलावा यहाँ पर एसडीआरएफ, लोकल पुलिस, आर्मी के जवान और होमगार्ड्स के लोग हैं, और सभी लोग मिलके सर्च अभियान में शामिल हैं। हमारी स्पेशलाइज्ड इक्विपमेंट हम यूज कर रहे हैं अदर देन जो हैवी मशीनरी है, तो इस तरह से एक साथ साझा कार्यक्रम चल रहा है यहाँ पर।
सुबह 6 बजे रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन स्टार्ट हो गए थे, हमें 12 बॉडीज मिल गई हैं, आज एक फीमेल बॉडी और मिली है जिसे आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं। इसमें सारी स्पेशलाइज्ड फोर्सेस, आर्मी, एनडीआरएफ, एसडीआरएफ, हिमाचल पुलिस, सब लोग मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं, लोकल लोगों की मदद भी ले रहे हैं। इसमें मैं ऐड करना चाहूंगा, बीआरओ भी हमें असिस्ट कर रही है, तो बीआरओ की मशीनरी है, लोकल एंड पीडब्ल्यूडी की मशीनरी भी है, जेसीबी ब्रोकलिन, जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं। कुछ बॉडीज पहले मेजॉरिटी ऑफ बॉडीज हमें ऊपर की तरफ मिली थी जो स्पॉट था, अब आस्ते आस्ते बॉडी निचली तरफ भी मिल रही है, डाउन स्ट्रीम मिल रही है।
Well, these are in fact visuals coming in from Mandi in Himachal Pradesh, and these visuals in fact show the intensity of those flash floods that we see. There were reports coming in that a temple had collapsed because of that flash floods, and probably you can see at the side there is a temple-like structure that has been hit by the flash floods. And mind you, when we are looking at this, it's not just water that is coming in, it is water fixed with soil as well as small rocks which have come eroding completely from the upper reaches of the hill, and you can see how much of a damage it has created to the building structures that are there, and you can see the intensity of it. They are slow moving, but they have the effect of a concrete coming straight at you, and the boulders coupled with the soil only increases the dangerous situation that is there. In fact, those permanent structures that have been there, their foundations tend to be eroded, the buildings get damaged, the walls are damaged. As you can see how the big boulders keep coming in, they move because of the soil being kind of very loose along with the water. They have the effect of a concrete mix coming straight at you. You can see how that house that was quite close to the area where this stream was there, you can see how it has been completely destroyed by this kind of flash flood that we can see. But this is not just necessarily a flash flood that we are seeing. We are seeing how this kind of a potent mix of soil, stone has resulted in this. Well, these are images coming off the situation where we can see how it has been quite a difficult situation. These are in fact drone images coming in from a landslide in that area. We can see how the impact of it is. There are several buildings on those hilly areas, and this is the kind of situation that we see. Again, these are drone visuals that show the manner in which the river has burst its bank, and also the kind of the level at which the river is flowing. You can see that there have been rains still predicted for each of these regions as well. The Shiva temple that was close by on that particular area has also been completely submerged. You can see how the drone footage in fact captures the kind of vulnerability and also the kind of buildings that have been set up in this eco-sensitive area. This is in fact in Kangda. We can see rescue operations being carried out. The SDRF personnel, again drone footage coming in from Kangda, where you can see the rescue personnel in their boat, their inflatable boats, and moving across the area, trying to reach out to people who would require help and also to give provisions as fast as possible. They are looking out for areas that have been completely flooded. You can see how the river, or probably which would have been a small stream, because of the heavy rains has burst its bank, and you can see the kind of difficulties that they in fact encounter, as well as they try to reach out to those who could be stranded. Helicopters, especially IF helicopters, have also been pressed into action to reach areas which have been completely cut off by a road, or the bridges have been in fact washed away in several areas as well. You can see the IF helicopters coming in for rescue operations as well. This is the level at which the water is flowing in Kangda, and you can see the difficult terrain that the floods have created in that region. 59 people have been killed as heavy rains pound Himachal. More houses collapse in a landslide in Shimla. And this is the kind of a situation that we see at the moment. 3 bodies recovered from the landslide spot is what we understand. And more heavy rains are predicted for Himachal. So IF pressed into rescue operations in that region as well. Floods have been also ravaging downstream in many areas in Punjab as well. Look at these visuals coming in. You can see the raging floodwaters. This again from Mandi. We can see how it is flowing, and it is in fact complete. This is in fact Pauri Garhwal. You can see the intensity of the river over there, and you can see how the flood waters are just eroding whatever is there and washing away whatever is there at the river banks. And you'll be surprised to see the actual size of the river when the flood waters in fact recede. It wouldn't in fact touch any of those corners, but when the waters are high, and you can see when the flood waters in fact move in, these are flash flood waters that come into the river, and it is drained by the natural system, and this results in the river bursting its banks. And it's not only the flood water, mind you, that we are looking at. It is coupled with soil as well as with other. This is in fact from the Ganga Ghat, and you can see from yesterday, today, there has been a slight decrease in regard to the water level at the Shiva statue area, which has become quite iconic when it comes to this area. This is in Rishikesh near Ganga Ghat, and we can see how the water has in fact been brought down compared to what was it yesterday. A slight decrease in water levels in that area, of course. However, there are reports also coming in saying that the authorities are still monitoring the situation there in Rishikesh. Well, another visual coming in of a car being completely washed away in Rishikesh. You can see the mangled remains of that car being removed by an excavator and an earth mover, and it has been lifted up from a particular location from where still the waters are raging, and in that difficult terrain you have the person balancing it out. Of course, remember, the soil is quite loose on the ground, and it is a difficult task at the moment. This is the mangled remains of a car that was washed away, just totaled like a tin when it came to the flash floods that ravaged the region. And you can see what remains of that car as of now. These are visuals that show the kind of impact that these flash floods have been having in that area. Remember, only 1.5 months ago, the same region like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand did face heavy rains, and now it is a replay of those visuals that we see over here, especially with the latest rains. Let's listen into one of the police personnel who was speaking about the rescue operations as well as the kind of situation that flash flood situation that was seen in the region. Let's listen to it.
ये जगह पशुलोक से लक्ष्मण झूला रोड पर सेरू नाला के नाम से ये जगह है। इसमें 13 अगस्त की रात को पानी की तेज बहाव में एक टाटा नेक्सॉन कार, जिसमें लक्ष्मण झूला क्षेत्र के गोपाल शर्मा, उनकी पत्नी और 2 बच्चे थे, वो पानी की तेज बहाव में बह गए हैं। इसकी सूचना पे हम लोग उसी रात से लक्ष्मण झूला थाने की टीम NDRF के साथ लगातार उनकी तलाश कर रही है। आज तलाशी के दौरान थोड़ा पानी कम होने पर उस हादसे में जो बच्ची बही है तेजस्विनी उर्फ गौरी, जिसकी उम्र 14 साल थी, आज उसका शव बरामद किया गया है। अभी भी गोपाल शर्मा की पत्नी और बेटे की तलाश लगातार जारी है। NDRF की टीम, थाना लक्ष्मण झूला की टीम और आज तो JCB की मदद से भी शवों को ढूंढने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है।
Well, that was the police officer explaining the situation that they face. These are visuals coming in from Chamoli area, and you can see how rescue personnel are in fact trying to move through a location where there is an expected collapse of a building, and as well as landslides have been reported. You can see the SDRF personnel struggling and using the cables to reach the area. This is in fact the night visuals. We're just bringing it to you to show the kind of struggle that the rescue personnel have to undergo when they try to reach out to survivors in the these areas. This is the kind of difficulty that they face. They have a complete debris to look through and in fact fight through as well, to fight against time to recover any of them who could be trapped and to ensure that they are rescued from such kind of situation. Well, there you can see the rescue personnel also, as I was saying, helicopter services have been pressed into action by various governments in both the Himalayan mountain states of Uttarakhand as well as in Himachal Pradesh, and we can see a rescue being promptly carried out with helicopters providing lift off capacity from the area. The reason why the helicopters have been pressed into action is of course because in many areas the bridges have been washed away, as well as it's become difficult as roads have also been washed away, and therefore access to places where medical emergencies are prevalent is very difficult, and therefore the helicopters have been able to access these areas, and many people have been lifted to safety as well as given medical attention immediately after being lifted from the area. As I was just telling you, you can see the situation of a road that has been completely washed away because of the floods and landslides that we can see. We can see how the entire area has been completely cut off because of this particular aspect, because of the road being completely washed away. People are trying to move away from these locations before they want to be being stranded on these areas. This is what remains of a road in that region, and therefore these mountainous areas have become quite difficult to be accessed as well. That is quite a steep gorge that we in fact see, and the road being completely washed away over there. These are visuals again coming in of a location in Chamoli where we can see a residential location where it has been subjected to flash floods. Now, the flash floods don't bring only water, they bring in soil and they deposit the soil in several areas. And you can see several machineries, cars, all of them being destroyed. This is the only access point in certain places in Chamoli as the bridges have been washed away. Ropes and ropeways are the only options to move from one location to the other, and the local SDRF as well as the fire force personnel have been using them to ensure that people cross through some of the treacherous flash floods and raging rivers, and this is the only option in front of them to move from one location to the other. As you can see, ropeways are the only way to ensure that they in fact move from one location to the other, and this is the kind of difficulty that we in fact see. And there, as I was telling you, this is another location in which you can see the remains of a bridge in Rudraprayag, and there you can see how the other option is only to use ropeways to move from one location to the other, and you have the personnel out there. And again in Rudraprayag we have helicopters being pressed into action for rescue effort, and that is the only way to reach areas that are difficult to access. And you can see the kind of rescue work that is happening as rains batter several areas in Uttarakhand as well as in Himachal Pradesh. This is the visuals that in fact explain how helicopters have been effectively used to access areas that have been denied because of roads being washed away, bridges being washed away, and effectively reach those areas on an immediate note as well. Well, these are visuals coming in from Dehradun. You can see the structure completely collapsing in Dehradun, and this is during the flash floods. The river has been hitting out against the foundation of this structure because it is located quite close to the river, and you can see how it just collapsed like a pack of cards. The river in fact eroding through the pillar as well as the basement of that particular structure. There you can see how the front facade of that particular building structure just collapses as the river moves through inside and in fact erodes its base and foundation completely. The pillars first collapse, resulting in the roof collapsing and the front facade of that structure completely collapsing into the river, and at the same time being completely washed away. So whatever debris was there has been completely washed away by the river. Those visuals explain the intensity of the flash floods in the region in Uttarakhand, especially in Dehradun. Well, moving on to Punjab, which is a state down the riverbed and downstream rather. Well, over there it is being said that several villages near the Base River in Punjab's Hoshiarpur district were inundated following the release of excess water from the Pong as well as the Bakra dams. Now, this is because of the heavy rains. The dams have been completely reaching its critical levels, and therefore there is no other option but for the authorities to open the dams. And because of this, there's downstream there's been huge flooding. These are in fact drone visuals coming in from Punjab's Hoshiarpur as well as other districts that show the kind of flooding that we see in the area. We can see how many of the villages in Nangal as well as Anandpur Sahib as well as in Hoshiarpur has been completely inundated. These drone visuals show that several areas where agricultural fields are present, acres of agricultural field completely inundated. These visuals in fact show the intensity of the flood downstream as well. Punjab facing the situation because of the dams being opened in the upper reaches of the riverbed, and downstream state Punjab of course having several rivers that originate from the Himalayan mountain states passing through Punjab. Many of the dams also being opened and the excess water entering agricultural land. Now, previously also 1.5 months ago we had seen the same kind of situation for Punjab as well, which had several of its agricultural lands inundated because of the flooding, and many of the local dams and bunds had been broken. Some of the canals also had breached, and this resulted in flooding in not only of the village settlements but also of the agricultural fields in the area. Well, these drone shots reveal the kind of difficulty that Punjab is also undergoing because of this, and the reason for it is that the heavy rains in the upper reaches of the rivers that pass through Punjab, well, the dams in those regions had to be opened because the dams were also filled and reached a critical level of water, and therefore the authorities had no other option but to ensure that the water is released, and this is the situation that we have. Well, we are back to Shimla and we are bringing you that horrific visuals of the day that explains the tragedy of this rain, landslides occurring in Shimla, and this difficult situation where we see the complete landslide in that area. And this is the horror that the rains have brought to the 3 states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Punjab.
अरे बाबा, इसके अंदर लोग तो नहीं पाए हैं।
नहीं खाली कर दो।
Chat GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
All of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies. A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
Pakistan is actually genociding Baloch people. So being Baloch is a crime. If you are a Baloch, it means in the eyes of Pakistan, you don't have any right to live.
The Chinese and Pakistanis are colonizing the Baloch and exploiting their resources.
The Baloch armed struggle will continue unless China withdraws, Pakistan military withdraws from Balochistan, and give Baloch complete authority to decide for themselves.
The Baloch feel that if they don't act now, they will become marginalized.
What lies ahead for Balochistan?
Balochistan, Bangladesh 2.0, streaming now.
Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. We have a power-packed show, so stay tuned right till the end. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is dedicated to the latest achievements in India's space exploration. Today, we embark on a cosmic journey with our spotlight firmly fixed on India's remarkable lunar mission, Chandrayaan-3. Join us in the comment sections down below as we delve into the awe-inspiring journey of the spacecraft, which has been tirelessly navigating the vast expanse of space research to reach its destination, the dark side of the moon. From successful orbit maneuvers to upcoming milestones, what's new for the lander and the rover, Vikram lander and Pragyan rover? Why this race with Russia's Luna 25 and much more? We're here to bring you an in-depth exploration of Chandrayaan-3's monumental endeavor. So buckle up for an exploration of the cosmos right here on our show, Chandrayaan-3 Countdown to Moon Landing. And we have a special guest with us on the show as well. So do stick around and stay tuned. Joining us on the broadcast is, of course, nobody other than Dr. G. Madhavan Nair, former chairman of ISRO. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Always a pleasure to be speaking to you. I'm sure you're also equally excited about the Chandrayaan-3 and its landing process. But do stay on with us, sir, because before I open this discussion, let me quickly go to the big wall up here and just, trace back the steps of Chandrayaan-3, how crucial they were. So, taking a look at what happened on the 25th of July, when from Sri Harikota,